I'm joined right now by Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist, Michael Schmidt, Washington correspondent for the New York Times, Eugene Robinson, columnist for the Washington Post, and Yamiche Alcindor, White House correspondent for PBS NewsHour. Susan, why don't we just go in order of your faces there? What is Rudy talking about, that he could be running the investigation of himself? This is the newest after his guy, Rudy Giuliani, denied there's such a thing as objective truth. Rudy went, I believe, to Manhattan College. He studied under the Christian Brothers. One thing you learn in Catholic school is a lot of philosophy, a lot of time trying to figure out the meaning of truth and finding to get to objective truth, and a total commitment to the idea there's such a thing as truth. I'm sure all religions believe this, but certainly his did. How could Rudy walk out there and say there's no such thing as objective truth? It's whatever anybody says, and if my guy says something, that's just as good as anybody else. That's what he asserted with Chuck Todd yesterday. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's clear that Rudy Giuliani's gone from a world-class leader to a second-rate apprentice in following Donald Trump. And that's all he's doing, is whatever will make Donald Trump happy. He's trying to muddy the waters. This was a career prosecutor. His career was launched being a prosecutor, Rudy Giuliani's. To hear him say that and twist himself up and not get the facts out, either because he didn't know or didn't remember or because he chose to lie, is so disheartening, especially for me, someone who worked in the administration, someone who learned to love government because I served in his administration. He is now supporting a government that I have no respect for, meaning Donald Trump and his administration.
You may pick up on this because two things here just jump at you. One is the denial of objective truth, which is the essence of everything. And by the way, just to remind everybody, as if they need a message in philosophy, if somebody tells you the movie starts at 7 and it starts at 7:30, one person's right. It did start at 7. If somebody says the capital of Japan is something else, I don't know what, it's Tokyo. There's only one right answer. There is such a thing as objective truth. And if they had a tape recording of that meeting that they had with Comey about what to do with Flynn, then we'd know the objective truth. So there is a search for it. It's not one person's opinion against another, and that's what Rudy's now saying.
The idea that Rudy Giuliani is saying truth is directly related to the fact that Kellyanne Conway said there are alternative facts. This is an administration that wants to create its own version of truth, has millions of people who believe only what they tell them, and as a result, they're laying this foundation.
Why are they doing this? Just to explain the politics if you can. Why would you deny what everybody knows when they're a kid, when you're taught not to fib when you're 3 years old? Or 5 or 6 at least. Why would somebody say there's no such thing as the truth or not truth?
Because if the Mueller investigation comes out and says that you in fact broke the law, and here are all the reasons why, and here's all the evidence, you can then turn around and say, well, their version of the truth is actually not the truth. Our version of the truth is what the truth is. They're doing this because they want to get ahead of whether or not of any sort of indictment, any sort of criminal charges, any sort of problems that the president or the people around him might have when it comes to the legality of things.
Okay, speaking of a crazy world, Trump's now saying that he could run the Trump investigation.
Yeah.
He just told that to Reuters. What does he mean? Some sweeping notion of executive power?
Well, his idea of executive power is that he could sweep in and he could fire Sessions and Rosenstein.
Arrest Omarosa?
Exactly, arrest Omarosa, send people to the tombs or whatever. I mean, he could do whatever he wants, and she could shut down the investigation. He could run it. He would turn it into an investigation of Hillary Clinton somehow and the dirty Dems or whatever. I mean, it's...
so as Omarosa wrote, he's not as smart as... He's not as competent as he once was. What are we talking about here? These claims are absurd.
Well, yeah, but he always makes outsized claims. He's always done that, actually, made outsized claims that are on their face kind of ridiculous. It does seem to be getting worse. He seems to be sort of bouncing off the walls. But one thing that we saw, especially in Rudy Giuliani's remarks, is how hard it is to keep the story together, right? I mean, to keep it all straight in his head. Yeah. So he flat out admits that it was the meeting was to get dirt on Hillary. Oh, was I supposed to admit that? Well, anyhow, they didn't even know she was Russian. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Fortunately, we have a press, and we have the New York Times and the Washington Post and all the other PBS and everything else. Rudy's Meet the Press interview came just one day after the New York Times reported this weekend White House counsel Don McGahn has cooperated extensively with Mueller's Russia investigation. This is a wow. The report sent Trump into a weekend-long Twitter tirade that continued into this morning. Trump deferred to the disgraced and discredited Bob Mueller and his whole group of angry Democrat thugs, he calls them. He added Mueller's angry Dems are looking to impact the election. And he wrote, the failing New York Times wrote a fake piece today implying that because White House counsel, he spells it with a C, Don McGahn, was giving hours of testimony to the special counsel, he must be a John Dean type rat. But I allowed him and all others to testify. I didn't have to. I have nothing to hide. Well, today the New York Times reported McGahn's participation with Mueller may present another problem for Trump and his legal team. Namely, they don't know what he actually told investigators. Michael, that was a hell of a piece yesterday. And I think it was like pulling the tablecloth off the table and leaving all the silverware there, because Trump doesn't seem to know what you got.
Trump,
and you broke this story that McGahn, 30 hours of testimony.
At least. Trump did not know the extent of this. He sees lawyers as people that fix his problems. The idea of a White House counsel is a hard one for him to understand, someone that represents the institution. He thought,
you mean an honest guy?
He thought McGahn would go in and say, hey, Mueller, here's why the president's done nothing wrong, as if he was a defense lawyer, as if he was explaining to him. I don't think he appreciated the fact that McGahn was going in
as a public servant,
answer detailed questions about the investigation in an open-ending, wide-ranging way.
Well, what does this do? We've always suggested everybody can get in here. I want to talk, Gina, Yamiche, and Susan. The thing is that we've always guessed what was in that incredible, what I call the iceberg of what he knows. I mean, you guys know a lot in the big papers, but he knows a lot. And Yamiche, I'll just start with you on this. It seems to me that if he had 30 hours with the president's own lawyer, who's sitting in the room all the time with Trump, his White House lawyer, he knows a hell of a lot to sort of fill in the blanks here of his case against the president.
Well, here's the thing that I thought was most remarkable about Michael's reporting. The fact that you reported that that Don McGahn went in there as a legal with his own lawyer and realizing that he did not want to be the person who was going to be the scapegoat for this. And that dovetails with the reporting that I've done with sources that say there are people that work in the White House who are very worried about what legal impact just being in the presence of all this might have on them. And as a result, they've hired lawyers to protect themselves. So 30 hours of testimony, I have no idea, obviously, what he said. But the idea that he knows that much, but also that he had his own lawyer making sure that he was going to be protected, tells you that he was worried about what he was going to have to say.
Gene, there's so many hours. Remember those scenes of World War II where the arrows are pointing to the enemy and the different salients are coming in? You've got Cohen talking. You've got Manafort potentially talking. You've got Flynn definitely talking. You've got McGahn talking, all coming. And now probably Omarosa talking. All these information's coming in, and Trump planning to play defense.
And I don't think, and I think there are probably more. I mean, there are other people who are talking and who are being talked to that we don't know about, probably. I think it's one thing that Mueller has, just strictly from McGahn, that he would have that he wouldn't otherwise have in this form, is probably, surely, a detailed, very accurate timeline involving various decisions, meetings, conversations that could go into an obstruction case. We don't have a sense of what he might have had to say that could go into a collusion or conspiracy case, but we don't know that there was nothing. I mean, we don't know because we don't know the universe.
We have heard
of
that
what
he knew beforehand.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.